Good morning. So it's a lovely Friday, and today is a special day. I am going to practice for tomorrow when my friend is going to be married, and guess who's the best man? That's pretty cool. Anywho, enough about me, and let's talk about code or IT. So, something that has been a probably the trendiest thing for at least 3 years now is the concept of microservices. And microservices, for better or for worse, have been widely adopted or almost became the de facto technology or the poster child for all that is modern and all that is non-monolithic enterprise stuff, right? It gave birth to, or rather it popularized things such as Docker and Kubernetes and like all of that good stuff. And I also think that overall it is, I mean, it's a fairly established concept at this point. It's like I still see people talk about microservices, but I don't know. I just like my gut tells me that the hype around it is falling. Like it's dropping a little bit. I think the peak of the hype is dying down a little bit, and on the rise right now is the concept of serverless or lambda functions. Now, serverless is actually, believe it or not, gaining more momentum than microservices. Do you see? Like, it was quite literally just a few months or a year ago when people were still so hyped about microservices that, you know, it's in essence was the only thing. I mean, they're doing it at Ticketmaster. They're doing it. They're doing it at like most of the major companies were like transitioning into this because it was the thing. It was the thing. I mean, holy shit! It must be such an easy job to be a architect for when you really like. I'm not. I know I'm being mean. I'm sorry, but it's. I was told by my boss a while ago where I said like, I said, you know, we are moving towards microservices and all that good stuff. And I mean, I myself could predict that that's probably what our architect is going to want us to do. And he said, oh, well, Frederick, you know, he has 10 or 15 or 20 years of experience. How, and you know, you're basically guessing that that's going to be a good fit for us. And I'm saying, well, I'm not really guessing because I'm pretty sure that he watches the same YouTube videos and that reads the same news articles that I do. Pretty sure that our architect hasn't, you know, really mastered the concept of microservice. And he knows that that's going to be the stable thing going forward, blah, blah, blah. I don't think so. And now a few interesting numbers which indicate that serverless is actually having a faster adoption rate than microservices, and computation times and the overall cost effectiveness of these functions are actually beating. They're actually beating. They're beating microservices, and it's amazing. Like big brands such as Nordstrom and Coca-Cola and so forth have started looking into lambda functions and like serverless and like all that good stuff and moving over to it. And I mean, this Amazon has had that concept in lambda functions have been around for since 2014, I think they had the concept. So it's not like it's brand new, but it's not that old. And I can only speak from my I haven't tried out Azure's functions, the cloud functions for Microsoft. I have used the API gateway and like Lambda functions on Amazon, and I also use Firebase with Google Cloud Functions. And all I can say is that I can really see the benefits here, because Google has been like the poster like Google hands down with tools such as Kubernetes and like all that good stuff. They are really embedded and like really central to the adoption rate of microservices and container-based system, probably because they run something very similar. Where like a few years ago I was in Amsterdam and I got it was a massive pleasure to like have one of their architects it was there, and he basically described, this was before Docker, this was when Docker was still on the rise, and it wasn't really a household name, if you will. And he explained the concept of pods and containers and how Google does infrastructure. And I think that for most people, this is how the trend works. I think that it's something I spoke about in a previous video, that you have these really big, massive brands who come along and they sell you I was talking to my colleagues the other day about that. I was looking at the Microsoft have a few products and Google have a few products. Like we were looking at animations, loading icons, and a few other things, and I was saying like these things are amazing. I mean, Google must have an entire building or an entire department who just do animations, like UX people whose entire job is to make very smooth, amazing animations. And my colleague said, yeah, they probably do have that. And I forget this all the time. I always make the mistake that, I beat myself up and I look at this thing and it's like this small little thing that gives such a sense of quality to the product. And then I look at my stuff that I make and I don't have time to make these amazing animations. I don't have an interest in spending a week or two to just get an animation absolutely perfect, or that's not my passion. I need to get stuff done, And it's kind of, and then my colleague says what I think is true. He said, well, I think that you forget that Google have literally more money than God. Like they have so many resources and they have the ability to do these things, and they recognize that it will be beneficial to them, because that's how they can keep their brand relevant. And because that's something I've been claiming for a long time. I'm claiming that when a company gets to a certain size, short-term gain won't actually matter so much for you. Like the quick money is actually going to hurt you, because when your brand is established and you have steady revenue streams, it's a mistake I think Ticketmaster has made many times. You look at the short-term gain and forget about something that's even more important, that is brand trust or brand loyalty. Because brand loyalty, which is, Coca-Cola, Apple, and Google do this better than any other company I've ever seen. If you go out and look for brand value, these companies are at the top 5 of this. Apple is probably the most expensive brand in the world, with Google on second place or something like that. And I think I would be very surprised if these companies don't invest billions probably in making sure that people love their brand. And that may not come. It might actually be that they could have made a few extra bucks a year by cutting deals that are a little bit, that might mess up their brand. But I would think that they don't do that, because I'm pretty sure, for the same reasons that Dolce & Gabbana and Hugo Boss and the big fashion designers, they don't cut deals with TV shop. It's Ferrari doesn't sell Volvos or ordinary cars, because the brand is so important to them. It's all about the image, and they've invested so much time in creating these different relationships with their customers, and that has a lot of power and value. So how does this tie into serverless? Well, the microservice architecture, which is right for Google and Kubernetes and so with using Kubernetes and all that stuff, that is a very specific use case. And I think that, and I've been, you can fail me for this as well, because I got caught up in the hype too. Like, I tried to do microservices at a very small level, and I'm gonna be, it's not that it didn't work, it was just a lot of work for at this small scale. And it actually cost me a lot more than using serverless. And I think that's why it's, I think that's why we're seeing this massive adoption rate through serverless. I think there's two main reasons. One is that it's very cheap to get started. And the second part is that for people who are not like Coca-Cola, Nordstrom, and like the other, like, they are big companies, but they are not, you know, they're not IT companies per se. And I think that if you don't have an interest in managing your entire infrastructure yourself and putting a lot of like massive amounts of money into your IT department, it makes a lot of sense, because that's, you pay a little extra for somebody who's a real expert in the matter to take care of it for you.